go through it. Okay, let me explain it. Yeah, in the whole MVC architecture, gateway also play a very important and key role. Okay, it will play important and key role in the complete microservices architecture. Okay, in the last discussion we understand about cloud config. Okay, a central configuration, how it is benefiting us, right, for n number of microservices. When we take a application may break it into a number of microservices. So one application configuration maintaining across all microservices is difficult if we have any common configurations, or though it is particular configuration to a microservice also, right, a configuration manager or a or as a technical lead or a a DevOps engineer, when they want to modify some configurations of your microservices, it is very really difficult to go to your code and touch your code and making modifications that even not make any sense. So we should have a separate configurations server service, so that from there they can easily able to modify, or they can able to add, right, and somehow we can decentralize the configurations, and so that collaboration or different teams can able to access that, so that they can place any configurations if you want without um, uh, putting that properties into your application. DevOps teams may access your configuration, may access your configurations, right, and as well as you can also access them. It will give so many benefits. Same way gateway also, when we use gateway, in the application, when we use the gateway in the application, right, what are all the benefits it will provide? Okay, so if you take any use case, okay, any use case, same e-commerce use case, I have customer microservice, I have one customer microservice, one inventory microservice, orders related microservice, offers related, they can have hundreds of microservices in the background. Okay, so imagine customer microservice, inventory, orders, delivery, okay, delivery microservice, and offers and reviews. See, while you are working on e-commerce, you may see lot of scope for the microservices, lot of use cases you may see, to create many microservices. Okay, so when I have that many backend microservices, will I have that many front end also? Means mostly we will have one front end, or of course you can have a number of front ends also. Nobody stops you if you want to create. Mostly we will have one front end. Okay, mostly we will have one front end or many front end clients also. Okay, many front end clients also you may have. So front end, I have one web team working on something Angular or React front end client is working. So all the modules they are integrating here, all modules or all microservices calling from here, all microservices are calling or consuming, you may put word consuming. Okay, all microservices are consuming, here from this front end app. So you may have some third party apps also. Third party apps, I want to share offers details with the third party app. Some third party apps wanted to advertise, so advertise them in Google ads or in FB ads. I want to show, right, when you open Google or Facebook, you will be seeing a lot of ads. So all that ads information, offers information, I want to post to the third party also. So third party apps like this, you may have maybe different vendors, third party, some third party applications who also want to access my microservice. How I can give access to them? Do I need to directly share access of my offers microservice with this third party, or do I need to share all these microservices URLs? Generally, right, when you create a microservice, it is independently app. Just a minute, guys, I'll just come back. So how do I share this microservices when I have, each microservice will run it in a different IP. Okay, if you are using a Docker and all, maybe a different port number you will have. So just imagine most of the times you will have a different IP and different port number. For each microservice you will have a different IP and different port. What is different IP means? A different server altogether you must be using. So each microservice, it will have its own IP, and it may run it on different port number. Okay, and maybe for this IP and port number you may have one masked URL. One URL maybe you can construct like how we did in.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Sir, recording has started.
Recording
Has started.
So every microservice is running in different IP and port. Maybe you may have one masked URL for it, one URL. Okay, so maybe like ngrok or any right, by using any DNS software you can create URL, or you may have your domain URL, anything, right? So same way how we constructed using ngrok, one URL you can construct for that particular IP and port number. Okay, you can correlate, right, guys? So we did that even using ngrok local application I shared with you. So for each IP and port number you may have different URLs also. Okay, and for each microservice, as per microservices recommendations, right, we will have a different database also. A different database also will be having here. Just for diagram sake I am creating different databases we will be having for each microservice. Okay, offers data into offers database, delivery information into delivery database, orders data into order database, inventory data into inventory DB, customer data into customer DB. Okay, we need, so yeah, we have advantages with that, we will talk about later. Okay, what is the advantage with independent databases, what are all the disadvantages, what are all the problems, solutions, that all we will discuss later. Now coming to this, I have created multiple microservices. Each microservice is having different IP and port numbers, sir. How I can share? My front end team is continuously asking to share this services URLs or my API. How do I share, sir? What is the best way? Okay, so the best way is you should not share these services directly with the front end. Even for Google ads or even for your front end teams. Okay, for any third parties when they want to integrate your API, when they want to consume your API, you should not share them directly. If you share them directly, right, if you share them directly, your service is not abstracted. First thing, your service access they will directly get, and you cannot centralize. Once you access these URLs directly, right, you cannot centralize them. If something, sir, I shared URLs to many customers, many people, like hundreds of microservices I created, sir, without gateway knowledge. I shared all the URLs. Now I wanted to apply security, sir. I want to apply security, or I want to send notifications. Somewhere I want to centralize that notification service or security service, or where I can write. You can't do that. You cannot able to do that. The reason is, independently you shared all the URLs with the clients, third parties, all these URLs. You can't centralize them. Everybody started using your microservice directly. Imagine Sailesh is one vendor, he is consuming my customer microservice, and you people each is consuming this microservice. I shared directly these URLs. Now security became big concern to me. I want to apply security. Where should I write that security? So the problems, right? If I share directly direct service URLs, if I share direct microservice URLs, if I share direct microservice URLs, the problems here, not pros, problems. When I want to apply security, it will become very difficult to me. When I want to apply security, or whenever I want to implement any filter kind of operations, or if I want to send any notifications kind of services. I'm just giving example. Notification example or filter examples are for centralized. Whenever I want to keep some kind of loggings, filters, notifications and all, I cannot able to handle them. You can't achieve directly security, filters, notifications and all, we can't able to achieve. And one more thing is, you directly shared, security is a big concern, and you shared your direct URL you shared, so you can't change it in future. In future, if you want to change it, in future if you want to change it, in future if you want to change it, you can't able to change it. Feature or future, correct me. In future if you want to change it, you can't able to change it. So you can't change URL, you can't change URL when you required, when you really required. Sir, my server or IP is broken, that is vulnerable, I want to change that IP or port number. No, you can't change, because directly you shared your URL, directly you shared your URL with the third parties, so you can't change them. At least if you would have masked it, you may have chances, but still I have created a masked URL, sir, I shared it. So in future if you want to change it, still you can't change that, because already you shared it, many consumers are already consuming it. If you change URL, the consumers will see the problems. Okay, so unnecessary of URL dependency we are putting on them, and we because we directly shared, anything if you want to centralize like security, logging, filters, notifications, that we can't able to achieve here, right? These all are the problems, these all are the difficulties or problems that you will face in future if you go with the direct access. So rather than giving direct access, if I put a gateway between, between my front end or third parties and my back end microservices. Okay, gateway with the service discovery. Okay, gateway with the service discovery, both will work amazingly. Okay, service discovery with the gateway. I'll tell you why I need service discovery, like Eureka. Together we will use them, they will produce good results. Okay, how? Yeah, so I have microservices, sir, I have URLs of my microservices. Okay, so where do I need to configure them? Sir? Do I need to go somewhere and configure? Configuration also is a problem without Eureka, right? Imagine just there is no Eureka, I have gateway. So how do I share my URLs with front end means you need to share here. Okay, you need to share here. Okay, you need to put predicate and URL you need to configure here. Predicate is nothing but a URL pattern. Okay, if you know servlets or in Spring MVC we configured, right, or URL patterns. Predicate, let's say if somebody asking for customers or customer predicate, customer URL is getting customer something request I am getting like this. So to whom I should redirect it? You need to give customer microservice URL. Customer microservice URL you should configure here. Customer microservice URL. So whatever request I get from front end or third parties with customer slash URL, it will redirect it to customer microservice. Similar way, all other microservices also you can configure in gateway. All other microservices also you can configure in gateway. So whenever I get a request from front end with this predicate is nothing but URL pattern. Okay, so whenever I submit a request from my front end or third parties with so and so URL pattern, so for that particular URL pattern it will check what is the backend service need to be executed. Oh, gateway will check, okay, I received a customer request, customer URL pattern. Gateway will check configuration. In gateway we do these configurations. Okay, it will check which URL pattern I should execute. So it will identify the URL pattern, then directly it will submit request from here to here. Same way for other microservices also, if you configure all the predicates and URL patterns, it will take your request from here to your microservice. It is looking good now, sir. What is the problem here? Yeah, it is looking quite good. And from this gateway you can achieve all the centralized operations, security, logging, right, whatnot, anything, as this is going to execute first for every request. Now if you want to customize anything easily, you can customize, you can filter, you can do filter operations, logging, mailing, notifications, anything if you want, security, any first request or any last request if you want to execute, because gateway will execute first and last. Whenever request comes, first it will execute. Once request processing is completed, last also it will execute. First and last gateway will execute while sending your request and while sending response also. So if you want to apply security while sending request, and while sending and while coming back, if you want to apply logging, and if you want to do any data filter operations, you can do everything here from the gateway. What is the problem, sir? Solution we have here, right? Yes, you have solution. But again the problem is, I want to change my URLs. Sir, I got conflict with this URL, service went down, or else I have multiple URLs. So first understand, I want to change URL scenario. So if you want to change URL, do you need to go gateway and change the your microservice URL here as well? Yes, you need to do that change. So as and when I do the URL changes, do I need to go gateway and do my service URLs changes? Yes, you need to do that definitely. So the problem with the direct gateway also, the problems with the direct gateway also is, just a minute. The problems with the direct gateway is, whenever I change the backend URLs, or when I change microservice URL, definitely I should go and modify URL in gateway. So you need to modify URL in gateway as well. Yes, of course, right, sir. I changed the URL, so definitely I need to modify this URL in the gateway. What is the problem in that, sir? Yeah, as a single microservice you may not see the problem, but imagine when you have hundreds of microservices while you are working, can you able to manage all these? apart from the working, apart from the coding, do you need to take care of all these? Instead, if somehow if it is automated, it will be really helpful to you, right? So to avoid this problem, right, to avoid this problem, we can go with the service registries. Eureka will work like a load balancer and service registry. Okay, so remember these two names, service registry and as well as load balancer. It will work for both purposes. It will work for both purposes, service registry and load balancer. What is the use of it, sir? For this problem, whenever I change backend URL, definitely I am modifying it in gateway. So if I go with service registry, if I go with Eureka, if I use Eureka, if you start using Eureka, the benefit is need not to configure any URL in gateway, need not to configure any URL in gateway. So whenever you modify, it will not affect your gateway. I mean, whenever, first thing is you need not to configure any URL. Sir, without URL, how it will identify my backend service? There is a way. Eureka will help for that. Eureka will help for that. Okay. If you don't know address, right, you are driving through, right, you want to travel from Hyderabad to Delhi, you don't know the route. You will ask somebody, they will help you. I'm in middle of some junction, I don't know how to move. I will ask somebody on the way, sir, how to go to Delhi, what is the route? Then if he know, he will guide. Take right or take left or go straight, something like that. So gateway don't know about your URL, but gateway will ask Eureka. Gateway will ask Eureka, what is the URL of, gateway will ask Eureka, what is the URL of so and so microservice. In such a way we are configuring it. What is the advantage, sir? We are trying to making it complicate? No, we are trying to making it simple. How it is simple, sir? Again, I am including Eureka also along with gateway. Yes. So as and when you have, as your microservices are going to increase by the time, many URLs you will have. Okay, apart from the load balancing, right? Service registry, as a service registry it will work. How it benefit us is, even you need not to configure, as a developer you need not to configure your URL in Eureka also. Eureka service will be running, service registries will work like a your telephone directories, right? When you take a new mobile number, your number will be registered into telephone directory. Okay, same way whenever you develop your microservice URL direct, it will go and register into Eureka. You need not to configure, it will register automatically. So when I use Eureka, need not to configure any URLs in gateway, and microservice URLs directly register into Eureka. Your microservice URLs directly register into Eureka, and when a request coming from front end, or any consumer, when a request coming from any front end and consumer to gateway will ask Eureka. Gateway will ask Eureka for microservice URL. Gateway will ask for microservice URL from Eureka. So Eureka will serve that, because already Eureka know about your microservice. Your microservice is already registered. Microservice is directly registered into Eureka. How? While developing your microservice, you need to give this Eureka URL. Eureka service will register, Eureka service will run. This is also one service, right? So Eureka service URL you need to configure in your microservice, so that whenever you start Eureka, you need to configure here. In every microservice you need to configure your Eureka. You need to configure Eureka in your microservices. While you are developing, just if you configure Eureka, that's it. When you start your microservice, directly in a reverse way it will go and register here. I started customer service, immediately customer service with a name, whatever name you give. Let's say for customer service I give customer CSR. Yes, you can use. With that CS name, your customer microservice will be registered. So names also important. Okay, your customer microservice will register with your URL, any name. Let's say customer service is the name, proper naming convention I am using, and the URL of your customer microservice will be registered here. How many URLs it can register, sir? As it is a load balancer, your customer service may have multiple URLs. Sir, it is running in multiple ports or multiple servers. You can give any number of URLs here. You need not give, actually. You can run your microservice in any number of servers. You run it in any number of servers, all that servers URLs will be binded here. All your server URLs will be binded here. Just if you change port number and run them in while local, right, you will clearly observe. I am running my customer microservice in 3 URLs, sir, 3 services or 3 servers, because I am getting huge load, sir. I wanted to balance that load. Yes, you can run 4 services, 10 services, any number of services you can run. That all service URLs will be getting registered into Eureka with a name. One name, multiple URLs. One name with multiple URLs. All your services in the same way, they will get registered into Eureka. Now Eureka is aware of each and every microservice and wherever it is running. Inventory service and inventory service URLs, where exactly this inventory service running, offer service running. If I shut down it, sir, automatically that URL will be cleared off. Sir, firstly I was running 3 URLs, now one is removed, one is shut down. Will Eureka still make calls to that shutdown URL? No. If you shut down it, it's okay. It will clear it off from the service registry. So whatever number of URLs you run, whatever number of pods you run, all that is going to register into Eureka. Sir, can I see them, how they registered, where it is running? Yes. So when you run Eureka service, right, Eureka also one microservice. When you run Eureka microservice, from Eureka microservice dashboard we can see all the services and their URLs, all the microservices and their URLs, where they are running, how they are running, what is the health of each microservice. You can observe from Eureka dashboard. Okay. Now again coming back to gateway. Now this time in the gateway you need not to configure this. In the gateway you need not to configure your customer service URLs directly. You need not to configure your customer microservice URL directly, because I don't have only one URL, I have many URLs. So instead of configuring for your predicate, I am getting a request, sir, customer URL, customer predicate I am getting. So which service I need to run? In the URL, instead of your backend microservice URL, we configure load balancer here, LB, load balancer, and we give microservice name, customer microservice, customer service. Your service name only will be provided here. And as already your gateway is configured with this load balancer, right, Eureka, what will happen? Now imagine from front end I received a request to gateways are customers slash request or offers slash or deliveries request, something I received from the front end team, sir. Which service it will execute? So immediately it will ask load balancer, is there any service running for this customer service name in your Eureka? Yes, it will say there are 3. Let me give you one. As I am a load balancer, I will decide it. Eureka will decide which URL need to be executed. So whichever is more healthy, or in a round robin, right, whichever is available, URL 1 is available or 2 is available or 3, whichever is available, that URL will be shared with at runtime. that URL will be shared with your gateway. So now gateway, let's say Eureka, if it provide URL1, the same service only, in all these URLs same service only will run as a duplicate copy, for load balancing purpose or high availability purpose. So URL1 is right now available. So Eureka will say gateway Eureka1 is available, you take your request to URL1. So your request will taken forward to your customer microservice in whichever server it is running. It will go there and it will execute, it will finish your request and come back. At a time I am getting so many customers requests, sir. At a time I am getting so many multiple requests. Will the same URL it will execute? No. 100 users requested. Out of 100, for 30 people it may give URL1, for 30 people it may give URL2, for the other 30 people it may give URL3. It will not use same URL. In a round robin fashion, it will shift the load to, it will switch the load to different services, not different services, different URLs, different ports, so that load will be distributed to the clone copies, so they will execute without any interruptions. All the requests, if execute on one URL or one microservice, it may feel the lot of loading. Maybe you may see a lot of performance gaps. But when you have load balancer, if one service is busy, your request will take into another service in the sense the same service which is running in another port or another URL. Okay. So when I use Eureka, now seamlessly all my microservices, if I run the same microservice in 10 copies or 20 copies, all that copies will be registered into Eureka seamlessly, and Eureka can able to address gateway also. Eureka also can address to gateway whenever there is a request for so and so microservice. It will help, which is healthy URL that will be shared with gateway, then gateway will execute the request seamlessly. So now the configuration also becomes simple. You need not to go to gateway and configure your URLs, and you need not to go to your Eureka and configure URLs. Let's say you are all developers. Okay, for you if I create one gateway and one Eureka, and if I share Eureka URL or Eureka service name with you, you will configure that in your microservices. That's it. You need not to bother about what is the gateway, what is the Eureka and all. As soon as you run your microservice, that will be get registered into Eureka. And now I am a technical lead. I created a gateway, I created a Eureka, and I ask you people to create microservices. You created. All your microservices are getting registered automatically into Eureka. Via Eureka, I can able to fetch from Eureka dashboard. I will see what are all the names. Just I will configure that names into my gateway, so that I can able to use or utilize that names here. And when front ends or when third party clients ask, what I will do now, I will share the gateway URL with them. I'll just give them gateway URL. I'll share gateway URL. I'll share the gateway URL, whichever URL or IP and port I am running this gateway, right? That gateway I will share it with the front end teams or third parties. If my business ask me, give a URL to for Google ads and Facebook ads, they want to publish something or they want to read something, so for them we need to publish one URL. I can share directly gateway URL. I need not to disclose what is the URL of my backend microservice and all. Now see, we avoided sharing direct URLs, and we avoided configuration of your microservices into gateways, and automatically your microservices, as in when you start your microservice, immediately it is getting registered into service registry. So from service registry we can give access to the gateway, so the gateway can able to do filter, security and all. It can apply as it is a central point where every request will come, and from here it will forward to your microservices, right? So that's why gateway along with this Eureka will play a important and key role here. Important and key role, okay, in the microservices. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Okay, first let's create one Eureka service, and in that Eureka service I'll show you how to register your microservices. Then we will, see the gateway as well. Okay, yeah. See, first how to build Eureka server. Okay, create a simple Spring Boot project. I'll do it from scratch. So as I have already, I'm showing it to you. Okay, Eureka service. You need to create one Eureka service with Netflix Eureka server. You need to add Eureka server as a dependency in your application, and web, yeah, include web and actuator also. Actuator also important, we will talk about it. Okay, add all these dependencies in your Eureka server, and you need to run this Eureka as it is a service, right? You need to run it in one port. Okay, so Eureka server port, I want to run it in 8761, and self registry. Eureka itself is not a microservice, so I don't want to do any self registration, because I don't have any service here. I don't have any DB operations or URLs. Just it is a service, Eureka service in running in 8761. That's it. You can directly run it. You can directly run this application. It will run as a service, and enable Eureka server here. That's it. Okay. Just if I run it, it will run on 8761, the Eureka server project. I'll show you Eureka dashboard, how it looks like. So Eureka service is running. Yeah, Eureka server is running. So here you can get the Eureka, adding new peer nodes and all. Okay, if you want to see all the nodes, you can go to this node, open Eureka server. Okay, yeah, you can see this is the Eureka dashboard which is running in 8761. So this is the dashboard. This is the dashboard of Eureka. You can see in which IP it is running and all. But as of now, there are no instances currently registered. There are no instances registered. No microservices registered yet into the Eureka. Just simply we started Eureka service. Okay, now in this Eureka service you can register your microservices. All you need to do is just you need to configure this Eureka client path as a Eureka client where it is running. Your service path you need to give. That's it. So it will go and register directly in each and every microservice. You do this. Yesterday we created 4 microservice, right? Delhi, Telangana, something RTA services. I'll register them, see how they will work. Anyway, I'm going to create a brand new server also, but for your quick understanding I'll show you. You need to add Eureka client in your microservice. with the actuator, we will add them there. Okay, let me open our microservices. Yesterday we created one, right? Delhi microservice, MH microservice, TS microservice. Let me register all these microservices, and each one I will run it in different ports also, so that you can clearly observe. First thing, if you want to register, yourself into microservice, into Eureka, you need to add Eureka client also here. Go to Spring Boot starters. Okay, search with this name, Eureka. Okay, you will see Eureka server and Eureka client. You can add Eureka client, as all these are clients, right? Every microservice is a client. Only one server application we create, remaining all are your clients. So just add this Eureka client. So it is getting updated. So as a client, you need to register. As a client, you need to register into running Eureka service, right? So you just need to add where exactly it is running. So I'll go back to my microservice. So here I will add and you need to add this client annotation also, Eureka service discovery. That's it. Now my client, will it get registered, sir? Yes. Run it. RTATS service is now running. Okay, you know, right, why this problem is getting. Cloud config also should run. We are using configurations from central server, right? So let's start your config server. Config server also, do I need to register, sir? Means no, because nobody will ask for configure server. Config server is for particularly configurations, and maybe it is having security concerns also, right? So don't add config server into load balancing, really not required also. Run your TS microservice again and see, will it get registered automatically in this dashboard or not. I'll just refresh it. If you see here, RTA TS microservice is registered. You see one URL also generated, desktop RTA TS8282. So I can use this URL also. What localhost print codes something, right? Yeah. So from Eureka I can access this URL. One embedded URL also generated, if you see here. Okay, just it is hiding your IP, and one URL got generated. You can share that as well. See, country, services I'm getting. So one microservice got registered. One microservice got registered in port number 8282. Shall I run multiple copies of TS microservice and register them, sir? Yes. Now the same microservice, I'll run it in a different port. Okay, don't go to properties file and change it. So it will shut down your existing copy and it will restart it. Instead, right, I'll go to this TS copy. From the runtime arguments, here I'll pass server port 8383, run it. So same microservice running as one more copy. Just go and refresh this dashboard. Still only one instance is up. Now see, RTA TS application, name is RTA-TS, running in two ports, 8282, 8383. You can use both of them. In 8282 it will work. Okay, print codes will work in 8282 and change this port 8383. In 8383 also it is working, right? How it will decide when front end request comes? Via gateway it will handle that load balancing. You need not to worry about it. Either 8282 or 883 it will execute based on the availability. So like this, all your microservices you can register into Eureka dashboard. All your microservices can be registered into your Eureka dashboard. Here into Eureka you can register all service URLs. Now we will see how gateway will work. Okay, you need one gateway project. You need one gateway project like Eureka. Instead of calling my microservices directly, you need to create one gateway application. Okay, just @ Spring Boot application, and gateway will work with Eureka also, but you need to hard code your URLs. Okay, without gateway, without Eureka, how it will work I will show you first. So I have a gateway application. Okay, so here Eureka is running, but I don't use Eureka. I'll just comment it. You can comment this Eureka service. So Eureka is commented, and I'll just give path. So product service all not available. Just let me comment them. Okay, I have only one service. My service name is TS. What is that? In Eureka, RTA-TS. So RTA-TS. Give same name or any other name. One ID, unique ID is required. And what is the actual URI? If you want to directly call, it is running in 8282. In 8282 it is running. What is the predicate? How do I call it? So print codes. If you call with the print codes, it will execute. Basically we don't have any, just directly we given one print codes. That is a bad way. Let me add some more extension to our URL. Let me shut down. If I shut down this RTA service, right, automatically it will be cleared off. Okay, everything I did shut down. So if you go to Eureka dashboard and see whatever services got registered so far, that will be cleared off here. Okay, anyway, it is showing down. Status is down. Both are down. In red color it is showing. Yeah. Now I'll add something more extra to the URL. Because I just given print codes, that's a bad way. Okay, we'll put global URL also, right? Request mapping RTATS something. This is the path. Okay, this is the main path. Under this main path we have print codes. Okay, so RTA-TS slash print codes. When I get, I'll get this data. So you need to give this URL in the predicate. You need to give this URL in the predicate of your gateway. When somebody requests RTA-TS slash, what is that? In that slash we have this child URLs, print codes, or let's say you may have get state code, only state code if you want to return, or only country code if you want to return. Get country code. Under this path, right, if anybody requests RTA-TS slash print codes, it will print this. Get state code it will give. Get country code it will give. Okay, yeah. So this is the main path. Under this main path we have sub URIs here. Okay, now let me run it again. My config server, running config server, and now I will run my TS service. Once the config server is right, run this TS service. Run as Spring Boot app. It will run it in, I believe, 8383. So you can see localhost 8383 RTA-TS slash print codes. URL got changed. If I call get state code, there is a state code method also. What is the method? Get state code only, right? Get state code only. Yeah, yes, C is not capital. Gets, okay, C is not capital. Get state code, get country code. Okay, so in 8383 it is running. Now in URL we added RTA-TS. Just I modified the URL. Okay, let me run it in another port also. Same RTA service. You know, right, from where I am getting that state code and country code, not from the local. Those configurations are there in my Git, right? Via config server we are getting them. Now in 8282 also it is running. Perfect. Yeah. Now you can see both of them must got registered into Eureka. So it is showing up. Both are up. Okay, both are up and running. Okay, Yeah, now go to the gateway. Go to the gateway. My microservice directly configured in gateway. My microservice RTATS microservice directly configured 8282 URI only. Multiple I can't configure here. 8282 only I configured. If I want to achieve load balancing, you cannot without load balancer. And I hard coded it 8282. In case in future if I want to change from 8282 to 8383, again I should come back here. I need to modify it. Okay, let's execute this gateway and see how do I call this. How do I call this from gateway? Gateway application is running in port 5000. Okay, port 5000. Run this gateway application. And now see, I will not access my URL directly. Or if you ask me, sir, I wanted to call your state codes and all that stuff, how I can get, I don't share you my URL. Instead I'll share you my gateway URL which is running in 500. So the gateway is currently running localhost 5000 slash. Here I'll give my path. Which path? This path. See, I'm getting it country code. How? My service is not running in 500, but I'm able to get a country code, state code. How? That is the magic. Gateway is executing. Via gateway you are trying to executing your services. Via gateway you are passing through. So if you ask me, I wanted to check this, sir, I want to check these URLs. Now, you know, right, I'll construct a URL for them and I can share it with you. Later I'll give you load balancer. Okay, for now let's verify them. Let's verify them. So I'll publish only for public, right? You want to access, you can't access my URLs. They are running in local, you can't access them. But still I can give access via gateway. Only gateway URL I'll publish. Only gateway URL I'll publish. So how I can access your microservice means via, what happened? Rock. So now if I share this URL with you, you all can able to access it. You all can able to access it. Say state code. I'm just sharing this URL. When I add load balancer, you will see the real magic. Still, now you are able to call this methods state code, country code, or print codes, right? You guys also able to access. If I consider you all are different clients, Nitin, Vinod, Shailesh, Mayank, Shravani, Ramesh, you all are different clients. For all of you I am giving access via gateway. I am not sharing my URL, and you need not to bother where my backend microservices are running. That's none of your business. You need not to know about them because you all are clients. For you, you need only access. I'm giving access via gateway, right? So we are abstracting our services also here. If you observe, I'm not sharing in which port or in which service it is running, right? You guys able to access it, right? Now the same thing, we can observe via, yeah, I'm getting your requests here. You guys able to access? Mostly, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now the same service I will enable for the same service, right? I will enable Eureka also. See the magic. So I'll enable Eureka service, Eureka server I will enable, okay, which is running in 8787. I'm giving Eureka path to gateway. And here instead of URI, now what I can do, I can give my service load balancer URL here, RTA TS, right, which is running in load balancer. Via Eureka I will give access to gateway also without hard coding the URL, okay. See this 82828383 and the name is RTA-TS. I'm not giving any URL now here in this scenario. I'm not giving any URL. I just given my service name and the RTA-TS is the URL pattern, predicate path. That's it. Now, okay, now I'm not giving URL. I'm just asking gateway get RTA service, RTA TS service from the load balancer. LB stands for load balancer. What is your load balancer? Eureka. So it will go every time and ask Eureka what microservice I need to run, in which server I need to run, 8282 or 8383. Then it will guide from where you need to run that. It will guide. Okay, even in your output also I'll put that. Okay, I'll put that port number. Just I'll shut down RTATS application and restart. RTATS application in one port I shut it down, and RTA application in another port also I'll shut down. Okay, config server is running, it's okay. What I will do here, how to get the port number, environment dot get port something. Just a minute. Okay, let me put that code. I guess we need to use environment object here. So that you can understand. port number of current running in Spring Boot. Environment object we can auto wire and we can get it. Configuring server port I know, but how to get it? Server dot port value asking us to set up. Is there any other way? Server properties dot get port. There is another way. And there is an environment object also that we can use. Yeah, many ways they given to get the current running port number. Okay, many ways provided. Okay, server dot port service. Let's see, server dot port service to get the current running port. Why I want to show you in load balancing. Really, is it switching between multiple ports or not? You can get it. Oh, is it not? It's okay. I'll use @ value. Okay, server dot port. I'll print port number also here. Okay, return on port is equal to plus port number. So you will see current running port as well. Let's run this TS service. Run Spring Boot app. So it is running on 8282 and it is getting registered. So call 8282 microservice and see whether you would able to see port number or not. 8282. Okay, so it is showing current running port number also 8282 or 8383, whichever port it is running, it will show you that port. Cool. Now see the magic. I'll be running my microservice again on different port. Run configurations. 8383 I will run. And I'll run one more instance, 3 ports. Run configuration. 8282 is over, 8383 is over, 8484 I will use. Okay, now running in 3 ports. Let's check, is it registered into Eureka first or not. Yes, your service is registered. RTA service registered 8484, 8282, 8383. Cool. So now it is running in 3 ports. Now I will call my gateway. I will call my gateway. Via gateway only we should make the request, right? So via gateway, when I request 5050 and 5000 is my gateway. So I am asking gateway, I requested, which one it is showing me? 8282. Once again I'll place a request again. Why 8282 only? Did I hard coded the port number? Must be. No. It is running in multiple ports, right? Why it is showing me only 8282? Did not I changed gateway? In gateway I given this one. Maybe I did not restarted it. Okay. Let's shut down the gateway application and restart it. So the gateway, okay, gateway must be shut down. Now restart it. Gateway also configured with load balancer this time. Correct. We disabled it, right? Enable Eureka client for this one as well. Now I will run my gateway. Run as Spring Boot app. Run as okay, gateway will start now. Yeah, see the magic. Via gateway I am calling get country code. It is giving country code, and you can able to see which service it is given access to you. 8383, now 8484, now 8282, 8383, 8484. See, in a round robin it is jumping. So you also try to access with this URL which I shared, and let me know what are all ports you can able to access. Via ngrok get state code I am getting. I can see it in 8383. Now 8484, 8282. Which all ports you can able to see? You guys able to access or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. See how load balancing is switching between multiple ports. So this is how it will balance the load equally, and it will improve your application performance as well when there is huge crowd requesting your application. Okay, so this is how you can integrate all together, gateway and Eureka, including in this example, right? Anyway, all that configurations we maintained from config server as well. Config server also we integrated, right? Config server and Eureka paths we have given in our microservices, config server and Eureka. So that from config server it will get all the properties, and using Eureka service it will get registered into Eureka self service. Now via gateway, in gateway also we can configure load balancer. Instead of giving direct URL to your predicate, you can give load balancer name, so that whichever is the most available URL it will identify from the Eureka and it will access it. So that's how you can, centralize all the requests via gateway, and you can do load balancing, and you need not to tell what is the URL of your microservice. Just on startup of your microservice it will go directly and register it. So seamlessly everybody can work without interacting or without doing so and so configurations. You just work on your microservice, just configure Eureka, bus, it will go and it will register. So I am running into multiple ports or multiple URLs, or automatically will it get registered? Yes, obviously it will go and register there automatically. Okay, so it will avoid lot of confusions. Easily all your microservices gets registered, and all your microservices will get access to from gateway, and via gateway you can give access to all third parties or your front ends. Looks interesting, right? Yes. Okay, we will apply the same and we will implement something more, okay, in the upcoming sessions.